Blog Talk Radio.
Women have the power to transform this world. We can end crime and violence if we all agree to do one thing: share. Let's share our wisdom, share our time, share our talents, share our finances, but most of all, let's share our love. This is the Female Solution. Join me, Naima Latif, every morning, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, as we bring you stimulating discussions about the issues affecting our lives. If you're listening online at www.blogtalkradio.com/the-female-solution, press the blue button that says follow and get our daily topics every morning directly to your email and your smartphone. Hi, I'm Naima Latif, Executive Producer of the Female Solution Radio Show. We invite you to call in 515-605-9325 and participate in this daily think tank as we examine the challenges we face and develop solutions that restore peace and harmony. We are global transformers, changing the world from the way it is to the way it should be. We are one. Wherever we live on this earth, we are one human family. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to extend a greeting to all the members of our family, whenever and wherever you may be listening around the world. To our family in China, Ni Hao. In India, Namaste. In Japan, Konnichiwa. In Korea, Annyeonghaseyo. In Russia, Здравствуйте. In Germany, Guten Tag. In Poland, Dzień dobry. In France, bonjour. In Spain, hola. In Italy, ciao. In Egypt, ahlan wa sahlan. In Ghana, akwaba. In Nigeria, peleo. In South Africa, sawubona. In Senegal, nangadef. In Kenya, jambo. In Israel, shalom. In Pakistan, Afghanistan, Palestine, and Saudi Arabia, Assalamu alaikum. Greetings, and may peace be upon you all. Join us live on the on-air radio network called 727-731-5192. We want to talk to you. Yes, we do want to talk to you. And we want to hear from you as well. I'm Naima Latif, and thank you for joining us on this exciting Wednesday morning on the Female Solution Global Radio TV show. We are on the on-air network. Our blog talk channel is having a little bit of difficulties, but that's why we're always on multiple platforms. So if you're listening on the on-air network, you can certainly see us on our Female Solution Facebook page and YouTube channel. But of course, if you're on the network, we want you to chime in today. And we've got our co-host, Kareem Hamid, with us. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. Naima, praise be to Allah.
Yes.
I'm grateful to join you
Yes.
this morning with the Female Solution.
Well, it's always a joy to hear your voice as well. We've got a topic that I know that has probably been explored a number of occasions. I'm certain on AM 360, because it is one that is a very deep impression on our hearts at this time. And we're asking the question: can citizens stop the government from waging war in other countries? And the reason why we want to take a look at this is because sometimes people feel overwhelmed and they're under the impression that they can be forced to do something they don't want to do. We know that during the Viet Nam War, it was a tumultuous time. People did not agree to the war, and they were being drafted and forced to go or face jail terms. We know the situation with Muhammad Ali and how he
refused to go, and the statements he made, and how it gave courage to many others to refuse to go and fight and kill people who they didn't know and didn't even understand what the political circumstances were. And eventually the government did pull out of Vietnam, but it was at a high cost, and there are still veterans that are suffering post-traumatic stress disorder and all other kinds of problems from participating in that war. Their families have been affected. And so citizens need to feel that sense of empowerment, that they cannot be forced to go and murder people for an agenda they don't agree with. And they also don't want their money going to support the killing of people. So there have been protests all across the country. And yesterday, we were present at a protest. We're actually on our way to a reception for the Democratic National Convention press attendees to just kind of give us a chance to, many who are coming from out of the country, I mean, out of the city, most definitely, to be present and see the nomination of the Democratic Party leadership. But there were protesters that are angry at the Biden-Harris administration for supporting Israel in its attacks on Palestine. And there was quite a crowd that gathered out in front of that gathering to make their voices heard. And we'll show you a little bit of that a little later on. But we want to talk about that because there have been protests all over the nation, shutting down school activities, shutting down traffic, shutting down commerce. So this is a serious movement, and it's not going to go away, and it's going to affect the election in ways that we can't even imagine, simply because citizens have said, no, we do not support these policies, and we want this war to stop. So we want to ask the question, can citizens stop the government from waging war in other countries? And if so, how do we do that? And how do we do it without our resistance to this policy becoming violent? How do we change the conditions that created this war in the first place? And is this something that we can see resolved in our time? So before we take a pause and show you some of the footage from yesterday, we want to get your thoughts on this, Brother Kareem, because this is the issue of our time, and there is intense emotion about this. So what are your thoughts?
Yes, the war in Vietnam is an excellent example of how public opinion can sway the policies of government. If I'm not mistaken, I think the president can declare war, and Congress has to approve that, the declaration of war, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. So we have Congress of people that represent us, and we should speak to them, through them, to the federal government, hopefully, to shape foreign policy, especially war. There is a way of getting around declaring a war, and the government has used that mechanism in the Korean War, which the United States lost. It was not declared a war. It was called a police action. A police action. And we know there was significant loss of life during the Korean conflict, as they like to call it. And matter of fact, we're still in a state of hostility toward half of Korea. There was never a armistice signed. There was never an agreement to end the conflict. Both armies were left in a stalemate. The Koreans, they had halted at a certain parallel line, and the United States forces, they halted at a parallel line. That's why we have North and South Korea now. But that war never really ended, for real. That's a fact. It never really ended. They are still locked in what we would call a stalemate. But once war is declared, then citizens have the ability to mobilize and garner public opinion. It takes time, it takes time, a lot of effort. But I do know the Vietnam War was ended because of massive public opinion against that war. And it was mainly the young people, the college students, that demonstrated in the streets and elsewhere to end the bloodshed in Vietnam. So the public has a degree of leverage, and we see that leverage being exercised now, but at the same time, there are still people who are being slaughtered in occupied Palestine.
Yes.
So it's how can a shame. My nephew, he is retiring from the armed forces in December this month. He has been fortunate to mainly remain stateside. And I'm glad to hear that he retired out of the army, because we're consistently hearing saber rattling, going to war. And for what? And, when we really ask ourselves, what did we gain from out of going to war against Iraq, which had nothing to do with the terrorist act of September 11. It was tremendous loss of civilian life in Iraq. Many of our troops came back home, and they are suffering post-traumatic stress syndrome. They are experiencing the ramifications of chemical of chemicals that they came into contact. So we as John Q. Public, we organize ourselves, and we demonstrate against the war and put pressure on our local representatives. You are there to represent this locale here. And our opinion on that is no. We want you to be our voice. So those are some of the ways that war can be averted or even halted. But it definitely will require public pressure to halt this bloodshed that we're always involved.
Yes.
We have this nation here has always been in some conflict somewhere around the world, trying to exercise the position of empire.
That's really what it comes down to.
That's what it. Hegemony. There's a phrase called hegemony, and hegemony, it stands for the influence that a nation may have in other areas of the earth. It's like there is the Monroe Doctrine that President Monroe initiated concerning Europe intervention in Central, South America, and Mexico. He introduced the Monroe doctrine that the United States would not allow them to gain a foothold or influence in Central, South America, and Mexico. That is what is happening now. There is a competition on the idea of hegemony. The United States has lost its influence in a lot of countries, and stepping into that breach seems to be China and Russia, and some Central American countries also. Hegemony, that empire, that idea of we run the world, and we will not tolerate anyone that confronts us on that nation. So I'm hoping that that citizen pressure, praise be to God, for real, when you touch them where they're very sensitive, when you can influence those that have the wealth, the money, the corporations, put enough pressure on them whereby they withdraw their support for the war. Because when we really look at it, most wars are fought by and fought for economic interest. Economic interest. The only reason that we were successful in ending apartheid in South Africa is that there was a world boycott of all businesses that did business with the government of South Africa. They did not redirect out of some moral, ethical, reason. No, you touched that pocketbook.
That's it.
Now we got your attention. So we do have power if we exercise it.
Well, now that's a major point. And the next question is, are citizens willing to be consistent with boycotts of companies that are supporting the war effort? And are we able, we should be able to mobilize even more effectively than before, just because of the internet and everything else, the connected communication systems where you can send out a text message to thousands of people. Don't shop here. Don't buy that product. So I know that there have been some companies that have been named, and some of them are places that I spend money, that I've stopped spending money consciously. And, it might be a little bit of an inconvenience sometimes, but if you make a decision that you're not going to finance war and you're not going to contribute to those who finance war, it can have an impact. Like you said, it toppled the whole apartheid system, not because they had this revelation, oh, this is wrong, it's because they were losing money. And I remember, and I think I've told this story before, at the time I was in college at the University of Nebraska, and someone gave a donation in the form of South African Krugerrand coins. And I think it was supposed to have been a gift for the sports department, I think, something, because that's the major income source of the University of Nebraska, their football team. That's what brings in the crowds who spend money and all of that. And we, the students, we protested the gift, and we made the university give it back. It was a big controversy about that. Probably if there's anything that I might be remembered for on that campus, was that conflict, because it was intense. And we met with the head of the sports department, and students who white students were like, well, why don't you give back money? That's not right with it. It was intense, but ultimately the university gave it back. And I don't remember how many millions it was, but they gave it back. And that was an opportunity to educate so many people about apartheid, because they didn't know. And it also was an opportunity for us to see how powerful collective action is, and public opinion is, and demonstrations and financial actions against something. So, you know, we started talking about, well, look, if they don't get back the money, we might put out the word to boycott the football games. Oh, can't do that because that's the university's income. So that got their attention. That got their attention. And this is what works. So question is,
go ahead. There was a movement started before the present situation, the genocide is occurring in occupied Palestine. There was a movement coming from out of Congress. I think it was headed by the women that they nicknamed Squad.
Yes, you know? Yes. AOC and all those, yes.
Yes, that movement was boycott and divest.
Yes.
Now that effort has really grown. It
has
truly, truly grown. So that is an ongoing effort that colleges are confronted with now, and businesses too.
Ilhan Omar, all those fiery young women that that won their seats because they were fiery and they represented the voice of change, and people put them in office, and they have been disrupting that Congress because they're not going along with the status quo, and they represent a new movement in government, and it's not easy. And if you start giving money to politicians, they all start begging. But I will give to their campaigns. I will give to them. If I don't give everybody else that begs, but I support what they fight for. And I think it's important for us to free the people that are fighting for us by contributing financially when they need to begin their re-election campaigns, because otherwise they get financed from other interests. And that's how come the other people can't speak up, because they got people that finance their campaigns that aren't in the interest of the people. So yes, they were speaking out about that a while back, and making waves.
Right. That's we have to know how this system works and know what levers to put pressure on. And in this country, and I'm sure other countries too, when you press that economic lever, excuse me, now you have their attention for real. So I remember during the anti-apartheid movement, quite a few people stopped purchasing gas from Shell gas stations. From Shell gas stations, that hit their pocket. Yes. I remember Saudi Arabia and other oil producing countries, they boycotted sending oil to the United States.
Yes.
That was a huge economic labor that was utilized. So we have to know our strengths, know where to apply the pressure. And, our elected officials, you mentioned something that is very key. They're always in campaign mode. Mm-hmm. It costs so much to run for office now.
Yes.
And they seek donors with deep pockets. Mm-hmm. And whoever pays the piper calls the tone. Mm-hmm. So corporate America had practically took over this country. Our politicians are beholden to them and not to its citizens, the people that they represent. This is, when they passed the Citizens United, that was a principle that a corporation is viewed as an individual, and they can give unlimited amounts toward a political campaign. That puts the average citizen at a disadvantage, because the majority of us, we don't have deep pockets like the Union Carbide or the arms industry, and other interests. So we have to get our democracy back.
Yes, we do.
We have to get it back, take it out of the money bag. How we do that, I'm willing to sit down with anyone and let's discuss that. How do we get our country back?
Absolutely. Well, I know we've got some callers on the line, and I want to hear from a few before we take a break. I believe we got Brother Neil MacArthur that has joined us. Unmute yourself. Grand Rising. Thank you for joining us today as we ask the question, can citizens stop the government from waging war in other countries? You've been a member of the military and a war veteran. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, Grand Rising, and praise God, Mother God, Father God, and peace and blessings be unto you and your listeners, and Brother Muhammad.
Hamid,
yes. Brother Hamid, I'm sorry.
Hamid. Kareem Hamid, yes.
Brother Kareem. This topic is one that I think that just like all other topics, all the citizens in America should their politicians work for us, like Brother Kareem said. They work for us. They represent us, and they're supposed to do what the citizens say. So when the citizens say, like you say, when you're talking about texting, and now we have social media, we have all these other things, these avenues, and these ways. It used to be you have to write your politician. Now you have all sorts of social media, all type of other platforms to let your politicians and let your representatives, the people who represent and work for us, those are taxpayer dollars. All those jobs, all those positions, all those are taxpayer dollars, and they work for the taxpayers. So when the taxpayers say, we don't want you doing this, or we don't want you involved in this, or we want jobs back at home, or we want you focusing on citizens, then they have to listen. If they don't listen, then the citizens have to let them know that we're not going. Not only I know we're not going to vote for you next time, but not only will we not vote for you, but we will also. There's a method of impeachment. You can impeach a politician and try a politician. So therefore, they have to be accountable to the citizens as opposed to the way they've made it, where they make it look like they tell the citizens what to do. So I think the citizens should have a say so, and the citizens should let their opinions be known as to how they feel about how this country moves forward in the future.
Yes, I agree.
It's very important that, like Naima pointed out, that this boycott and divest, this was started by women, by females.
Yes.
I'm ready for female leadership. I'm ready for conscious female leadership. The males have messed this world up. Matter of fact, the holiday that we just celebrated for Mother's Day, it has been taken off of its focus. A woman that started for Mother's Day, I can't remember her name now, but she started that. That was a protest of mothers against the war.
Yes.
After having witnessed the horrendous loss of life during World War I.
Yes.
And starting that movement, and she was very disappointed that it became commercialized.
Yes.
Cars, floor industry, sentimental stuff like
I know, and it was an anti-war
and
protest.
Our children.
Yes. And that's a very significant point, because a lot of people don't know that. That was an anti-war movement, Mother's Day. We need to know that, because women didn't want to be losing their sons to being killed in war. Well, we're going to take a quick break and come right back. So hold on. And everybody who's watching, if you want to participate in this conversation, give us a call. 727-731-5192. We're on the On Air Radio Network. You can call in and make your voice heard. 727-731-5192. We want to hear from you. And we'll be right back. And we're going to show you, when we come back, we're going to show you a clip of an anti-war protest yesterday and get your thoughts about some of the things that were said, because they're kind of hooking in the violence of war abroad and police misconduct at home. Are they related? So we'll be right back after this quick break. So stick and stay. Don't stray away. We'll be right back. So stay with us.
Hi, I'm Naima Latif, and if you're watching this, that means you're one of the 4.6 billion people from around the world who are using an electronic device to talk to people. In these times, people are using the internet to talk to everybody. Friends, neighbors, family members, co-workers. People are on their cell phones and computers all day long. Now, if you're in business, that is great news. That means you can sell your products and services all day long and never have to leave your home. All you need is a media connection, somebody to connect you to an audience. And that's why I'm talking to you today. We produce programs, and our audience members are people who shop. They buy clothes, food, beauty supplies, cleaning supplies, home repair, transportation services, child care services. Whatever you're selling, they need to buy it. We're your media connection. Just follow this link, and tomorrow you can sit back and relax at home while your business is making you money.
I'm Barbara.
I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Naima. We're three Black moms.
And in case you didn't notice the resemblance, we're also three sisters.
We're going to be coming to you every week, sharing our successes and our mistakes as we navigate our lives as moms, wives, sisters, daughters, and of course, Black women in today's world.
We'll talk about it all. Race, politics, religion, economics, culture, and we'll take a look at everything from whether or not to use corporal punishment to how do you teach your children about sex.
Look for our upcoming book, Growing Up Charles. It's a personal story about our lives growing up in Maple Park on Chicago's South Side. I'm Barbara.
I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Naima. We're three Black moms. Follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Three Black Moms. And we are back. You're listening to and watching the Female Solution Global Radio TV show. I'm Naima Latif, along with our co-host Kareem Hamid, and we're on the On Air Radio Network today. So you can call in at 727-731-5192 because we want to hear from you. We are asking the question today: can citizens stop the government from waging war in other countries? And we know that we've done it before. So in this current very divisive climate, are we able to stop the war efforts? And is this going to have an impact on who gets elected in November? Now, I got a quick question before we bring up the video of the war protests. A lot of people are angry with the Biden-Harris administration because of their support of Israeli war efforts financially. This is what our tax dollars are going for against our will. And yet there are people who have been conditioned to see this as a religious issue, and the Bible saying that the land belongs to the Jewish people and all of that business. Of course, we know, like you said, all war has to do with money. Who's going to control land and resources? That's the bottom line. But how do we get past the deep religious conditioning that's making people justify the horrendous actions going on there? And how do we educate so that people can see when they're being manipulated into agreeing to support something horrific happening within the human family? How do we do that? So what are your thoughts on that, Kareem?
Well, yes, you're mentioning something that has a backdrop to this idea of Zionism. Zionism, very succinctly, is the idea that people of the Jewish state should control all of Palestine and Jerusalem. There is a man that wrote a version of the Bible. It's called the Schofield Bible. The Schofield Bible. And within that text, there's a great emphasis on the principle of Zion. Now, Zion presents itself as one that will usher in the return of Jesus Christ back to the earth. May the peace and blessings be upon him. That he will return when the Jews have occupied, have full control over Jerusalem. This is a idea that was born out of Christianity. And like Theodore Herzl and those that worked with him, they adopted that principle. They adopted that idea, and they labeled it as Zionism. They are non-religious. Let me say this, and this is a contradiction in terms. They are non-religious Jews. No such creature exists as a non-religious Jew, because yes, what they have done is they have took the label of Jews and Judaism. They have reduced it to an ethnic group, and not a religion. To give you an example of what I'm saying is, those of us that are familiar with the scriptures, when Moses approached Pharaoh following the command of the Almighty, highly praised be God, go and tell Pharaoh to let my people go. And we know our hero, our prophet Moses and his brother Aaron, they went to Pharaoh and they said what God told them to say to him, to let my people go. We know Pharaoh didn't like that. Pharaoh said, I know no God other than myself. And he asked, who is this God? And Moses answered, he is the one that controls life and death. Pharaoh said, well, I control life and death here. You keep on talking, I'm going to show you. So it was agreed upon that Moses would meet with Pharaoh's scholars. They call them magicians in scripture, but they're really his religious scholarship in the form of religion that they practiced at that time, that they would meet in the public and hold a debate. Moses said to Pharaoh, my God is the God that caused the sun to rise in the east and set in the west. Pharaoh, can you cause the sun to rise in the west and set in the east? And it says Pharaoh was dumbfounded. It's written that his so-called scholars, many of them were baffled. Pharaoh's wife said, I follow the God of Moses. At that time, she became what? A Jew. She accepted the Torah as her guidance, and members that was in his assembly of so-called scholars, some of them converted. Say, we follow the God of Moses. They became Jewish. It wasn't an ethnic group. Matter of fact, it is alleged that the original adherents to the law of Moses, that they were of Ethiopian ethnicity. So they have wrapped themselves in religious language and have designated themselves as an exceptional people. This is the ungodly Jew. So that's why you see support coming from the evangelical movement in this country. They want to usher in what they believe will be the return of Jesus Christ back to the earth. And we pray the prayers and the peace upon him. So that's why you see them giving so much support to this idea. But what those that live in Israel, what they must understand, read the full text. It says that when he returns, he will slay all the Jews, that he will slay them. He will enact war on them. It's written that the bloodshed would be so tremendous that the blood would reach the horse's bridle. So they are using religious terminology to enact their material and political aspirations. Their material and political aspirations. There are many God-fearing Jews that are definitely against Zionism. But they have written themselves into Scripture.
Oh, yes.
And that misreading of Scripture is a huge sin and a great catastrophe, a great mistake. First off, God is not a real estate agent.
Absolutely.
God is, right. You know, he's not. Israel is not a land. Israel is a condition of your soul, your heart, and your mind.
Well,
that's the promised land.
That's the promised land.
That is the true promised land.
That's the promised land.
Not a piece of land somewhere or spot on the earth. Yes. Matter of fact, they, when this idea was introduced, they looked to settle in Uganda. That was, yes. Now, if Palestine is the promised land, why was you looking at Uganda?
Right.
And I believe another country, it was Argentina, if I'm not mistaken, in Central America. But the Palestinian And those of the Jewish faith, they lived hundreds of years in peace with each other. That's what most people don't understand. They lived in peace with each other in Palestine throughout the so-called Islamic world. Matter of fact, it was Muslims that gave refuge to those fleeing the horrific conditions of the Holocaust. The Palestinians opened up their doors and welcomed them. Other countries opened up their doors and welcomed them. It is not the Arab that committed the Holocaust. It was the European. They caused hell in Europe.
Yes.
And even the United States. If we truly tell the truth, there was a group of so-called Jews that boarded a ship fleeing the horrendous conditions that was placed on them in Germany, and especially in Europe. And they sought refuge in this country. They came nearby ship, and the United States would not let them embark, would not let them enter this country, and sent them back to the ovens of Europe. So it's not Muslims. It's not the Arabs and Muslims and well-meaning Christians. No. So I just want to make that back in history. That's something that most people don't know. You know, that they had lived in peace with each other hundreds of years. Matter of fact, the Jewish scholars say at this time that their best time on this earth was when they dwelled in Spain.
Yes.
Under Islamic government.
Yes, that is historically correct.
The public have to be educated. They have to be educated and get rid of this lie, you know, that these are religious Jews. They are not. They are Zionism has nothing there. Most Zionists are true Zionists or atheists. They do not believe in God.
Well, you know, it's amazing how people who are claiming to speak for the creator of the universe are so bent on violence when this universe was not founded in the spirit of violence, but in the spirit of love. So how is it, and peace. So how is it that people are claiming to say the word of God says that certain people should be killed and are justifying that thought? But as you pointed out, the real promised land is a state of mind. It's not a physical place. It's a state of being, which makes every place you are that promised land. And people speak of the return of Christ. Well, the return of the Christ consciousness is what is to reoccur, which means enlightenment, which means a love-based society, which means a higher awareness of our oneness as one human family. And it means the awareness of doing no harm. That's what is to return to the earth. And when that returns to the earth, all of those other warmongering, hateful, greed-based systems will collapse because there will be nothing to support them, because the people will not have the mindset that this is correct. So this is what we're seeing. We're seeing the collapse of a mindset that allows destruction of life for greed-based purposes. And this is where the clash is. This is what we're witnessing on the earth right now. The transformation to higher consciousness that will not permit this kind of activity in the name of God. So it's a wonderful time to be alive, as we all say, because we always say, because we're seeing the transformation in our lifetime. And this article here that I have up on the screen, where It says pro-Palestinian campus protests evoke Vietnam era uprisings and other struggles of the past. We realize that we're going through a transformation in which the citizens of the nation are not going to allow propaganda and fear-based, twisted religious doctrine to control their activities and to force them to support murder. Because that's all war is, mass murder for profit, for gain, for economic control. So we're not allowing it. And the question is, of course, how is this going to affect the politics, just based on the fact that neither party has been a strong anti-war voice, but the ones in position of authority right now are certainly being held responsible for allowing this condition and approving financial support for it. Even, you know, and the last, I listened to the last State of the Union address with President Biden, and he made some remarks about allowing humanitarian aid. And I guess that was sort of an appeasement, but there was a national movement, not for none of the Muslim groups to meet with him and to give any kind of credence to symbolic gestures when they're demanding ceasefire in the war, stop aid, stop it all right now. And anything less than that, nobody's going to sit down and you know, for photo ops or anything like that to try to boost his campaign, because they don't agree, and they're not going to allow themselves to be used to make it look like everything's okay because a few dollars have been given for some aid when people are in the worst state of distress humanly possible. So with instantaneous communication systems, we can see what's happening to families. And so it's important to do what you just did, which is to educate us on the history of how this happened and how religious thought is being manipulated. And why would people want to hold on to a belief of a cruel, vengeful God that kills, when in fact, we who've been given free will could just as easily make this a peaceful heaven on earth if we would just choose to treat each other fairly. And yet we blame God when we choose not to. I'm sorry, what was that again?
Jesus represents unconditional love.
Unconditional love. So how do you turn that into justifying war? We're gonna play a bit of this video on the and this was from yesterday, the protest that, hopefully you'll be able to hear it, the protest that many gathered at it's on the west side, the Garfield Park Conservatory, a beautiful place where the Democratic National Convention hosts were seeking to show, you know, some of the beautiful sides of the city of Chicago to many of the out-of-town journalists who attended. But they were met with protests, and this is probably going to be throughout the entire convention, just like back in '68, I believe, the Viet Nam protests and protests against civil rights violations, same kind of thing. So we've got these same issues happening. The question is, are we ready to make a change, and are citizens going to use their collective power to cause the government to change its policies? And are we willing to boycott those companies that are giving their financial support to things that we disagree with? Are we at the stage where we have the organizing capacity to gather the kind of collective power that we have had in the past? Well, let's take a look at this protest, and then we'll be right back with your thoughts. Well, there we have it. And I think those who were listening or those who are watching our YouTube channel may not have heard all of the audio of some of the protest chants, but basically they were anti-police brutality. They were anti-war and anti-impoverishment of the people. So it's the whole system of abuse of those who are less fortunate that was being protested. And it's a signal that the people are pushing for change in a substantive way, not just symbolic things, but really an abolishment of a whole system that keeps propping up this extreme greed and as you were saying earlier about the hegemony, the idea of a nation wanting to control everything and everybody. And the citizens realize that even if they live in a nation that is powerful, that doesn't mean they're going to be powerful. And so Americans used to believe, well, we live in the strongest nation in the world, and they believed that that was going to somehow trickle down to them. And even though it might mean privileges for the few, at what cost to the rest of the world? And when the rest of the world comes at you with anger because you have raped their country and stolen their resources, then the average citizen who didn't have anything to do with those policies feels the pain of that. And so now we have to take a look at what are we allowing our government to do. So we're going to take another quick break and come back. And I'd like to get your thoughts about what citizens can do to change the internal oppressive systems that have grown and taken root and become part of what we're believing we have to educate our children to fit into, as opposed to educating our children to dismantle. Why are we believing that? And what should we be teaching our children so that they can create something different? So we'll be right back after this quick break. So we want you all to stick and stay. Don't stray away. We'll be back in a moment. So just stay with us. And you're listening to and watching the Female Solution Global Radio TV show. And we've asked the question, can citizens stop the government from waging war in other countries? We say yes. The question is how and who's willing to participate in that process. We'll be right back, so stay with us.
Hi, I'm Naima Latif, and if you're watching this, that means you're one of the 4.6 billion people from around the world who are using an electronic device to talk to people. In these times, people are using the internet to talk to everybody. Friends, neighbors, family members, co-workers. People are on their cell phones and computers all day long. Now, if you're in business, that is great news. That means you can sell your products and services all day long and never have to leave your home. All you need is a media connection, somebody to connect you to an audience. And that's why I'm talking to you today. We produce programs, and our audience members are people who shop. They buy clothes, food, beauty supplies, cleaning supplies, home repair, transportation services, child care services. Whatever you're selling, they need to buy it. We're your media connection. Just follow this link, and tomorrow you can sit back and relax at home while your business is making you money.
Hi, I'm Barbara.
I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Naima. We're three Black moms.
And in case you didn't notice the resemblance, we're also three sisters.
We're going to be coming to you every week, sharing our successes and our mistakes as we navigate our lives as moms, wives, sisters, daughters, and of course, Black women in today's world.
We'll talk about it all: race, politics, religion, economics, culture, and we'll take a look at everything from whether or not to use corporal punishment to how do you teach your children about sex.
Look for our upcoming book, Growing Up Charles. It's a personal story about our lives growing up in Maple Park on Chicago's South Side. I'm Barbara.
I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Naima. We're three Black moms. Follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Three Black Moms.
And we are back. You're listening to and watching the Female Solution Global Radio TV show. I'm Naima Latif, and we are having a discussion about the war effort and whether or not the citizens can change the policies of the government. So, Brother Kareem, you know that a lot of the people involved are college students, just as before the movement came from the young. But a lot of the older people are the ones with the financial influence. Do you think that the older citizens, especially the ones who've had years and years of conditioning and brainwashing, do you think they are able to join in with the protest and to understand the need to take measures such as boycotting, not buying certain products from very popular companies, maybe for a long period of time, in order to make a point? Do you think the older generation, let's say the 50 plus generation, is able to come on board and have the impact financially that they have the power to have because of the command that they have of financial resources? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, you know, we are children of major protest in this country. I'm at that age, I'm at that area where we would be considered the elderly, the senior citizen. But we remember, we have not forgot the effort it took to get us out of Viet Nam. We were those college students in 1968. We were those that initiated the boycott of companies that were supporting the war and supporting the apartheid movement. So there are among us a significant number of people in our age group that are active in this movement of free Palestine. Now, there is a mindset that we must overcome. And that mindset is the idea of superiority. That we are to run the world. There are people still among us like that they have a divine right, a manifest destiny to rule and run the world. But there is a significant number of us from out of 1968 and 65 and into this future that are the children of protest, of changing policy. We were active in that, and there is a significant number that have put their be-up overalls back on and their programs, and they have joined this demonstration. It was good to see that a significant number of faculty, the instructors on these college campuses, are standing with the students concerning ending the genocide that is occurring in occupied Palestine. So the youth are very active. They're young. But there is a significant matter of fact. It is our age group that bring up the remembrance of what happened in 1968 at the Democratic National Convention. That was us. And praise be to Almighty God, we have not forgot, We have not forgot. So this movement is growing, not just in this country, around the world. Around the world, almost every major country have had massive demonstrations against what is happening in occupied Palestine. And also I want to reference another horrendous hotspot on the earth, what is occurring in the Democratic Republic of Congo. You don't hear too much reporting on that. That there is a civil war going on in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And due to that war, There is the largest displacement of human beings inside of one border ever known to man. Ever known to man. The citizens themselves are suffering. They are suffering. They are displaced. And let me point to one of the causes of the civil war going on in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The Democratic Republic of Congo has the unique distinction of possessing a mineral that is not found anywhere on the earth, as far as we know. That mineral it's the mineral deposits are in the area that we call Congo. It is called cobalt. Cobalt. Cobalt is the necessary ingredient to run high tech, to run nuclear facilities. It is the main ingredient needed as we are in this high-tech environment. And what is used is they are using child labor to mine cobalt. Many of them are digging with their hands into the earth, extracting cobalt. Well, there is an independence movement that is occurring on the continent of Africa. There are countries that have put the colonizers out of their country. And that independence movement, one of its motivations is that the citizens of this country should reap the benefits of the resources being mined out of their land. Now, you know, as we mentioned, corporate dollars, they have their representatives also in those countries, and they are fighting against the independence movement of the citizens of that country managing their own resources, that the corporate heavy hand, that they have people that are armed, they have people that are organized to move against that movement of that you will no longer extract minerals from out of our land and take them to Europe and other places, and you reap the large financial profit from that. That we need education, we need schools, we need roads, we need to build up our country. And you will no longer be able to extract mineral resources from out of our land. And the citizens themselves do not enjoy the benefits. So that is why we see a civil war going on in the Democratic Republic of Congo and elsewhere on the continent of Africa. The countries have moved toward self-determination and independence. So that butts up against the interest, the corporate, the multinational corporate interest. So we must put the spotlight on the horrendous horror that is occurring in the Democratic Republic of Congo. I don't want to leave them out. I know everyone is focused on what is happening in occupied Palestine, but I want our vision to be very broad, very broad. There is a movement afoot on this earth now, whereby countries that were colonized, uneducated, weak, and all of that, they have gained education, they have gained their strength, and they are demanding that the colonizer get out of their country. There is a movement called the Global South. The Global South. There are countries that have united under that umbrella,
and they are pushing back against the status quo. The status quo, the global south. The global north is Europe and those countries that have exploited other nations on this earth. And those nations have now gained a footing. They are moving toward independence and self-determination. Self-determination. So we have to know what is happening globally. This is a global movement. And we have to be aware of it because there are people saying that they do not want a unipolar world. Unipolar means that there's one nation will call all the shots over all of humanity, and they are a minority, and with their combined efforts, these countries that are in that movement, they have more wealth than the EU, the European Union. They are more numerous than the countries of Europe. And why should a small minority run the earth? We feel more comfortable with a multipolar situation, not just a unipolar situation. And we have to admit, the United States has been the leader, the most influential nation on this earth. But look at the condition of the people. What have they done? You know, look at the condition of the people. So these nations are now standing up. They have become educated, and they are pushing back against the exploitation of their resources. This is a huge movement, and it is afoot as we speak right now. Right now. So this situation in Palestine, in Sudan, they discovered oil and gold in Sudan, and the corporations have their stooges. They have their stooges in those lands to try to hold on to the control of the resources in Sudan, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and it is alleged, I'm using the word alleged, it is alleged that oil, that the most purest form of natural gas has been discovered, guess where? Off the coast of Palestine. Off of Palestine. The ex-president's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, was at a large meeting, and he was discussing the real estate value of the land that is being occupied and taken over by the Zionist government of Israel. Follow the money. Follow the money. What has to transpire is, and most countries are saying it, that the United States, your rule is over. You must agree to be a working partner with the rest of the world, not an oppressive leader. That era is over. We are in what is called the universal strata now. We're all connected with each other. We can talk to each other in real time. We are in an environment that is universal, and you must work as a partner with the rest of the world, not dictating as you have done over several hundred years. So this is what is happening now. We're in transition. This is a great time. This is what is called that great and dreadful day. It is great for human aspirations. It is dreadful for those that want to thwart and oppress human aspirations. That is what is transpiring right now as we speak.
So this goes beyond just, the elementary explanation or identifying what is taking place. It is much deeper, much more significant than this fairy tale that they are telling the public. They're hiding behind. Matter of fact, let me identify this mindset. Yes. It is a mindset, and it goes back thousands of years. When we look at the story of Moses, we pray the prayers and the peace upon him, that when he went up in the mountain to get the commandments from God, there was a group among them that encouraged the people, let's build a golden calf. We can't wait on Moses all the time. Moses has got us out here. We want the life we had in Egypt. We want the life matter of fact, our Almighty God addresses it in the Quran. He said that Moses informed them, what you desire can be found in any town, any city. They wanted it said the onions and lentils, the produce of the earth. Where I'm carrying you is high, way above your appetites, where I'm carrying you. Okay, that mindset, and because of that, they were held out of what is described the promised land. That condition of soul, heart, and mind. Jesus comes. Almighty God sends Jesus to add a necessary ingredient into religious law. The heart has to be considered. The mercy has to be considered. It's not just cold hard facts, do's and don'ts. There is mercy that must be applied with the commandments of God. And we know that he was confronted. He was confronted by the religious leadership at that time. He was questioned by them. And according to scripture, he asked them, he said, why do you question me? When you have the law and you hide it behind your backs as if you know it not. He said, I know you. You are a liar and the author of it. You are the product of your father, the devil. This is Jesus talking to. This mindset that was even existing back then. See? That mindset, when he chased the money changers, praise be to God, he chased the money, him and his following. They chased the money changers out of the sacred temples. They were in there doing business. It was all about materialism. And we have all read where him and his followers kicked over the tables of the money changers and chased them out. This is that mind. This is that mind that's still alive, that has no concern about the human condition, has no conscience, has no regrets. It is unfeeling. It does not register the tears of mothers for their children. They don't hear. They do not hear the cry of babies and children. They're of one mindset. They are called the one-eyed man, that type of thinking. One eye, only one eye. Political and material domination. This is that same mindset that the people of faith are battling against till this day right here. And I believe it is over for the Zionist oh no. This is a mindset that is alive among human beings, period. Period. So this is our fight. This is our fight. This is what we are fighting for. The equality and the freedom of humanity. Say in your motto, if we just learn to what? Share. There's enough resources on this earth where no human being should want for. The necessities of life. God has provided enough for all of us, but we have to be willing to share and work in partnership with each other.
That is right. That is right.
Lord, well,
yes. Well, Minister Plump, you've joined us. Hold one moment. We're going to take a last break, and we'll be right back to get your thoughts. Another war veteran joining us, and we will be right back after this quick message. So we want you all to stick and stay. Don't stray away. And for those who are watching, you can call in and comment at 727-731-5192 because we want to talk to you. We will be right back.
Hi, I'm Barbara.
I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Naima. We're three Black moms.
And in case you didn't notice the resemblance, we're also three sisters.
We're going to be coming to you every week, sharing our successes and our mistakes as we navigate our lives as moms, wives, sisters, daughters, and of course, Black women in today's world.
We'll talk about it all: race, politics, religion, economics, culture, and we'll take a look at everything from whether or not to use corporal punishment to how do you teach your children about sex.
Look for our upcoming book, Growing Up Charles. It's a personal story about our lives growing up in Maple Park on Chicago's South Side. I'm Barbara.
I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Naima. We're three Black moms. Follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Three Black Moms.
Citizens, stop the war effort? And if so, what kinds of things should they do if they don't agree with their government's policies in this regard? So you're a war veteran. What are your thoughts on that issue? And did you well, of course you were involved in the Vietnam War, correct?
yes, ma'am. Way on ya shalom and assalamu alaikum. Good morning to the female solution, and thank God for you, Sister Naima Latif. We love you. I was a Vietnam veteran, and also let me mention that the Honorable Mayor Harold Lee Washington was a World War II veteran, and he did say we must plump the whole community.
So in doing that, were you involved at all in any of the protests, or were you drafted? How did you end up having to go anyway?
Okay, I was drafted. Okay, and I was drafted from Chicago. Well, really, I was drafted from Hattiesburg, Mississippi, because that's where I'm originally from. However, I lived in Chicago at the time, so I had to go back to Mississippi
and then they drafted me from there, and I went to Fort Benning, Georgia for training, and then they shipped me on out from there to Viet Nam, and I was in a part where they call Tex, and as a result, it turned me totally from my experience, in terms of violence. It turns me totally against violence, and killing. And because that was, to me, my experience, it was a inhumane situation that I got caught in. But even under the circumstances, I became what they call a valid, a valid Victoria. Okay, I learned, I hate to admit it, but I learned everything you can learn how to kill another human being. But I learned that's not the real me. So when I got back, I kissed the ground, and I used to also work with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. before I left. And so I made up my mind to stop working, as far as I'm concerned, for the devil, and start working for God. And then I remember what they call the Black Code. So as a result, when I got back, I got involved with Sister Rashida Ali and myself and some others. We created the Harold Washington Foundation Community Center. And we're going to have a meeting tomorrow. I'd like to invite you and everybody out in Chicago to come and join us. We meet every Thursday from 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock. Bottom line is that it's a leadership meeting, but it also is a meeting to help stop the violence, the robbing, stealing, and the killing, and everybody can help save the children from 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock every Thursday. And the building is dedicated, which is the Urban Project, the Urban Art Center, is dedicated to Dr. Webb Evans. You remember Dr. Webb Evans, Sister Naima? Can you hear me? Sister Naima, can you hear me? I hear you.
Yes. Yes, thank you for your thoughts. We appreciate you. Thank you so much for calling in. And
anybody can get in touch with me at 312-882-5935. And go to Robert Plump's Facebook page and give me a call and let me know if you see anybody on there that's better than you and me.
Well, thank you so much. We appreciate you as always. And that's one of the things that we're looking at, the fact that so many of our veterans, had to comply, whether or not they agreed with the policies or not. And this is an unfortunate situation that many find themselves in today, even though we don't have a draft. I believe we don't have a draft. Now I know there were some years when I know there were some years when 18-year-olds had to register. Do they still have that, as far as you know, Brother Kareem, where you have to register at the age of 18?
No, selective service. That's what that's called.
Right.
Matter of fact, that they could lock you up if you didn't register for selective service.
So when you were 18, what was the situation then as far as requirements to register?
Well, it was still active. And I, fortunately, through circumstances and situations, I wound up living in Detroit, Michigan. And Canada was a haven for those that wanted to escape this draft. I have lost many friends in Viet Nam. At that time, they was almost decimating the African American community, enlisting young African American males to go way over in Southeast Asia somewhere and kill poor people. You know, the casualty count was very high. Bodies being shipped back to the United States was in great number. So had they come at me, I was going to go right across the bridge, the Ambassador Bridge, into Windsor, Canada. I had no plans of ending up in the jungles of Southeast Asia someday, fighting people that I didn't even know, you know? So fortunately, the draft has ended. It is an all volunteer now. But we hope that does. I'm not saying that every nation does need a standing army for their defense, but it has to be for defense, not aggression. Not aggression. That's where the line has to be drawn. And then we have to be educated. We have to know what is happening over our heads. What is happening in this global world that we're in? We have to remain vigilant and be educated concerning what is taking place. You know, a good example is Iraq. We had no business. No, we should not have went over there and I'm not saying Saddam Hussein was the best person in the world. He was not. Matter of fact, he worked as a United States agent attempting to overthrow the revolution that had occurred in Iran. They used him and his forces. He lost that battle, and then they turned right around and waged war against him. And there was a great loss of life. The citizens of Iraq, they suffered tremendously. We had great loss of life of military personnel. So we have to note the backdrop.
to vote for anybody, we better know who they stand for and who's paying them, because the lobbyists, the EPAC lobbyists are paying off so many of our government employees that we can't get any peace in this world, because the money is talking louder than our voices of peace and no war. So I just wanted to add that to a really good informational show today. Thank you, Naima, and your co-host.
Yes, well, thank you, Vieta. We appreciate your insight and your historical information. A lot of people don't know what happened because it's not taught in school. So what do you think about that? The fact that what we get taught in school is such a distortion of what really happened.
And that's why we have to educate our children ourselves at home. You know, there are a lot of parents have to go to work. They don't see a choice but to send them to public school. But we better be sure to educate them when they come home, because the public school system is not going to do the job. It's our job as grandparents and parents to educate our children at home. We cannot depend on the public school system or this government to teach our children the truth. And that's what it comes down to. And then starting schools like you're doing in the peace school that we're promoting, that we have to take over the education of our children.
Yes, we have to take over the education of our children, which means we have to be educated ourselves. We have to choose to get the knowledge so that we can give it to our children. We can't keep depending on other people. We can't keep depending on other people to educate our children and to tell them the truth. That means we need to find out. Now, just based on the fact that everything pretty much we've had in our schools has been propaganda, how do we find and how do we determine what's true and what's a lie? Vieta, what do you think about that? You've got grandchildren coming up in the school system now. How do you make sure that what they're being taught is correct?
Well, there's enough information, not just YouTube, but on the internet to do research. I think we as grandparents or parents have to do research. We can't take one video and claim, well, this is the only truth and this is the one we're going to teach. If you watch enough YouTube videos on a particular subject, you're going to get the truth out of it. And if you do your research on the internet, you're going to get the truth. It's all coming up because divine guidance and energy is helping us know the truth. The spirit of truth, which is Yeshua, in my mind, or what people call Jesus, it's the spirit of truth that is coming back in the mind. I don't believe nobody's coming out of the clouds to save us, but the spirit of truth is rising in the minds of people who are conscious and who are waking up. The spirit of truth is the Messiah, truth, Yeshua, is rising in the minds, and that's what's happening today. Because of this war, actually, people are waking up and realizing how evil this government is, number one, saying that we're going to send relief aid, we're going to send food and put a little ramp out for you, and then send bombs to destroy them. And it's so crazy and insane that we're waking up to the insanity that our government is demonstrating, and we can't trust them for anything, really. So I think, again, research ourselves, and then present that to the children to consider. I let my grandchildren last night watched a documentary called Fantastic Fungus with me.
Fantastic Fungus.
They were really entertained by it until they got sleepy, and we didn't finish the whole thing. But that's the type of information they need about our Earth and our universe, so they can make up their own minds, be critical thinkers, and realize that we're so far away from fantastic fungus, for instance, in our eating and so much more. But yeah, we got to do our homework, look for educational videos that can train our children the right way.
Yes, train our children the right way. once we train our children the right way, they will change the world. And that is what we constantly reiterate every day on the Female Solution. That's why we're here. And that is why we are always reminding people that we are here to transform the world from the way it is to the way it should be. We're not here to conform, we're here to transform. We're not here to comply. We're here to raise consciousness and to remind all of us that we have a responsibility to the higher power that's allowing us to have this experience here on earth. But we can shape it however we want it to be. And for those who want to continue to use fear and deception to maintain control, we're removing that power from them by replacing it with knowledge and understanding and truth, so that people can choose to treat each other with kindness, compassion, and respect. And they will therefore change the experience we're having here. Rather than it be one of terror and fear and pain, it can be one of love and joy and peace and harmony and good health. We can make that happen by a simple decision to do no harm to any other being. So that's our goal. And that's what all of our hosts, in their own unique way, are sharing with us every day. So we want to thank you all for joining us. We did have to step away from the screen for a minute. That's another whole story in itself. Maybe I'll tell you about it. But we do appreciate our wonderful co-host who always has such brilliance to share. And we definitely appreciate our listeners and those who participated in giving us their insight. And we want to say goodbye to our global family listening from all around the world. We say thank you. Join us again tomorrow for Nature Talks with Nature-Based Talks with Angela, a brilliant mind that you need to hear from. So join us tomorrow. Until that time, continue to shine your light. And hitting wrong buttons here. And of course, if you missed any parts of this show, you can always go to our website, thefemalesolution.com, and it has all of the links to all of the networks that we appear on daily. So just in case you missed anything, you can always go back to our Facebook and YouTube channels so that you can enjoy the show. We'll see you next time.
We've come to the end of our show today. If you missed any broadcasts, go to our website for the audio and video archives at www.thefemalesolution.com. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to thank all of you who participated in today's discussions. And to our global family joining us from all around the world, we say thank you. To our family in China, xie xie. India, dhanyavad. Japan, arigato. Korea, kamsamnida. Russia, spasiba. Germany, danke. Poland, dziękuję. France, merci. Spain, gracias. Italy, grazie. Egypt, shukran. Ghana, madasi. Nigeria, eshe. South Africa, Ngiyabonga. Senegal, Jaref. Kenya, Asante. Israel, Toda. Pakistan, Shukriya. Afghanistan, Tashakur. Saudi Arabia and Palestine, Shukran. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Thank you, and may peace be upon you and the mercy of God and God's blessings.
And thank you all for joining us today, and we'll see you next time.